Hello and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Capril. Hey, today I want to talk about AI, artificial intelligence. Okay, what is this, right? Is it like the movie The Matrix? Not quite that bad. Not yet, no. All right, first of all, let's talk about advances in technology to begin with, all right? Because whenever something new comes to the surface, there's usually a little bit of panic about it. So before we get into what AI is, let's kind of talk about the role technology has played in our lives. Because I have tended to resist modifications in technology, but eventually I give in. So let's think back a few thousand years ago. Let's say you're the Pharaoh of Egypt and you decide you're going to build a pyramid. That's not a small undertaking. It's not a small undertaking today. But back then, assuming the aliens didn't build it, that was a lot of human labor, slave labor, Jewish slave labor. And that was backbreaking work. Took forever. I'm sure there were people who worked on it, lived full lives, died, and it still wasn't done. That's just the way things were back then. Now, over time, with the advances of technology, machinery, you could build buildings, for example, faster and with fewer people. Now, with fewer people, does that not mean less jobs? Kind of does. There's a story about Milton Friedman once going over to, China or somewhere, and he's watching all this work being done with shovels. And he says, you realize you could bring in a backhoe and a tractor and do this much more quickly. And the response was, well, if we do that, though, these guys will all lose their job. And Friedman responded with, well, why don't you just give them spoons then? Why give them shovels? Spoons, you're going to have to employ even more people. You see the flaw in the logic here that we're having? Technology is inevitable. It's going to come. It's going to disrupt. It's also going to make our lives better. So today, you can have a home built in 2 months, sometimes even faster than that. This neighborhood that I live in, when I moved here, there were 1,800 homes. This neighborhood's been in the process of being built for 20 years. Think about that. They just finished house number 3,000. It's like a city, okay? It really is. If you ever came here, you'd be like, this looks more like a city in the suburbs. Kind of what it is. But none of that could have been done without advances in technology, obviously. I just watch the guys when they're building the frame. It's boom, boom, boom. Why? Because of the nail gun. Now you can have 2 framers do what 5 framers used to do. Okay. AI, it's going to be similar. Now, for the most part, artificial intelligence is nothing more than a big search engine. Back in the day, if you wanted information about any topic, let's say fly fishing. All right, I'm going to say fly fishing because there's a picture of a fly fisherman over there. You can't see it, but it's there. So when I was a kid, if I wanted information on fly fishing, there's only one place I could go. The library, right? Go to the card catalog, hopefully find a book on it. Book is probably 20 years old. That was it. Encyclopedias were helpful in that they provide a little information about a lot of things, but it was limited. And then when the internet came out, largely through the creation of web pages, we were able to get information much more quickly, but it can still take time. Well, artificial intelligence will actually make it even faster for you. So now you could go to ChatGPT and ask a bunch of questions. ChatGPT, give me 5,000 words on the best places to fly fish in America for brown trout. And it will do it in seconds. It'll pull from all these different websites and it'll cite references, etc. in seconds. Now, you can also use it for things like doing your homework, which is why that can be a problem. Every piece of technology can be used properly or misused terribly. I don't know if you know the story of Alfred Nobel and dynamite, but the Nobel Prize. It's named after Alfred Nobel. Why? Because he donated the money to create the prize. Do you know why he did that? Because he felt absolutely awful about another invention he did called dynamite. When Alfred Nobel created dynamite, he thought, this is great. We're going to be able to build roads and tunnels and all this types of stuff. You know, we're stuck out in the western part of the United States. We can't. The mountains are there. Now we could blow through these things. He thought it was one of the greatest things ever invented. Until the Army figured out a better use for it. And Alfred Nobel felt awful. He did not want that to be his legacy. So he created a Nobel Prize for many different parts of the arts and sciences. So you can see that technology could be used properly, misused. It's the same thing. So when you hear about AI, don't panic. You'll be using it whether you realize it or not. Homes are now like smart homes. I can literally tell Alexa to turn on my lights, turn off my lights. You can do all that stuff. That's all forms of artificial intelligence. But it's going to come. And like most things, it's not going to be what you think it is. And there will come a time when you will wonder, how did you live without it? You know, isn't it strange? You know, when I was a kid, again, you'd go away, maybe a camp or something. And your parents told you, write letters. Okay. Because that's how you kept in touch. Why? Because long distance was so darn expensive. And you know, kids get 3-4 words out of them. But I had to write letters. And I did. Which is probably why I enjoy writing today. They don't do that anymore. They don't even make phone calls anymore. Kids text everything. Advancements in technology. So how did we live without the cell phone? We did quite well. I always laugh when my wife will go, you know, where have you been the last 2 hours? Really? 2 hours? Do we really need to hold on to each other that tightly for 2 hours? No, we don't. We just kind of got into the habit. So I have to be careful how technology works. So when it comes to AI, just think of it again as just another type of search engine out there. The biggest difference is it's going to combine all the others. It can create things. So if you want an artificial intelligence to create an image, it can do that. You can usually tell when the image, it doesn't look as good as the real thing. Maybe someday they'll get to that point. But writing articles, creating images, when it's creating images, it's pulling from images that already exist and bring it together. It lacks the originality that the human brain has. Maybe that'll come someday. But I will tell you this. If it's like most forms of technology, well, there'll be some downsides to it. It'll probably make your life a lot better. Oh, it's also a big reason why the stock market's been up lately. The companies involved with it. All right. Oh, and yes, those companies are in your portfolio. If you have any questions about AI, feel free to reach out. Take care. Bye-bye.